I'm going to show you the new way to go from $0 to $10,000 per month using a single skill and building a wildly profitable business from it. Now, this is what I've personally done by taking the skills I've learned from my 9-to-5 job and just repackaging it and selling it into the market. And I'm going to show you how you can do the same using the skills you already have. And if you don't have any skills, I'm going to show you how to do this by learning a new high value skill and selling it into the market. So the first question of this puzzle is figuring out what skill you should actually sell. There's really two routes when it comes to this, right? For some people, you might already have some kind of skill that you learned from your 9-to-5 job, or maybe you're just naturally good at something. For others, maybe you don't have a skill yet, and maybe you haven't really made a good income, and you're looking to learn new skills and provide more value into the market. So I'll start with people who already have a skill. So if you have a skill, you want to just think about like, okay, you have a job, you're getting paid for your job, right? You know, whatever salary you're getting. You have to understand that when you have a job, you're technically kind of like your own entrepreneur. The only difference is that you only have one client. So if you're, let's say, a video editor, a marketer, an operations person, you're doing some kind of work where you're basically selling your time to another person to help them make more money, essentially, right? So you have to think like, okay, the skill you're using to make money and income is a valuable skill. Otherwise, that person wouldn't be paying you every single month. Now you just have to think, okay, how do I take that skill, repackage it, and sell it into the market? Because chances are, if one guy is willing to pay you, there's other people that are willing to pay you as well, which is why people go to different jobs. So the mental switch that you need to have is like, okay, instead of just working for one person, why not do the same thing, be highly specialized in that thing, and work for multiple people? And now you have clients, right? And this is where that business mindset really comes into play. So all you have to do is repackage the thing that you're already offering and sell it to different people in different ways, right? So that's step number one for people that already have a skill. It doesn't matter if you're an accountant, again, editor, HR person, like you handle back-end operations, right? Each of these pieces of a business somebody needs help with, and they have problems with that, right? So if you can help them in some capacity, you can make money from that, you know? Now, for people who don't have any skills yet, and maybe you don't have a high income job, what you need to do is you need to learn a skill, okay? And here's the reality of high value skills. I think the traditional education system, and I went to a good university that was super expensive, it kind of fails a lot of people because it doesn't really teach you a hard skill that is directly monetizable into the market, right? So if you're taking majors, like no offense to anybody, right? It's like political science or human studies, right? Anthropology, they're not directly applicable into the market usually. So you essentially have to just like go into the market and learn these skills anyways. If you are in a position where you don't have any valuable skills, all you got to do is just pick one that people will pay for, right? So for example, sales, right? I'm an expert in sales. I've been teaching sales for a long time. I've been a sales rep. I know from personal experience and training so many people, it only takes about 3 months to train somebody to go from zero to a sales development rep. In America, a SDR, right? That's what it's called, sales development rep. They're making between 60 to 75K a year. So it only takes 3 months to do that, right? For other skills like copywriting, for example, it really only takes another 3 months to learn that as well. So any of these high value skills, understand that they're not that difficult to learn. You can learn them very quickly. You just have to break the mental shift of like, thinking like, oh, I didn't go to school for this, so I can't learn it. You can. You literally can. Just take a course on it. There's free material online. Like any skill is monetizable. You just have to understand what the market is willing to pay for. Now, as part of getting to that 10,000 per month goal, one of the skills that ties all the pieces together is actually going to be copywriting, which is the skill set of selling with words. So that's why I have a resource for you to help you write more persuasively and become a better writer and tell better stories, which is why I recommend checking out the My First Million Copywriting course by Sean Puri and Sam Parr. So I put a link in the description for you to check it out for free. This is going to be relevant for everyone because if you are in business, you need to write persuasively in order to sell, right? Whether it's writing newsletters, landing pages, emails, advertisements, right? So when you check out this free resource, my favorite section personally is going to be the HubSpot AI content writer, which is basically a tool that allows you to write content using AI, especially if you're getting writer's block, you're not sure like what to say. It's going to definitely help you out there. This resource was made possible by HubSpot, who's our sponsor for today's video. So you want to make sure you check out the link in the description. And thank you, HubSpot, for helping make this video possible. Not only is it important to develop a skill that people are willing to pay for, there's this concept called skill stacking where you're able to differentiate yourself from everybody else, right? Because let's say everybody's learning copywriting or everyone's learning sales. they all kind of have the same skills. But how do you become different in the market so that you can be perceived as different, perceived as better, and better is usually higher value. You can charge more money, right? So this is a concept called skill stacking, which is essentially when you learn multiple skills and you find creative ways to put them together. So I'm going to give you an example, right? So let's say you are a script writer, right? You're a copywriter, a script writer, and then you're like, okay, I know how to write. Great. The next step is, let's say you're really good at YouTube. You understand YouTube marketing. You understand how to write scripts specifically to engage people on YouTube and get them to watch for a long time. That is another skill in itself, right? Because some people might be good at writing landing pages. Some people might be good at writing cold emails. But let's say you specialize in understanding YouTube. So that's 2 skills put together. And then let's say you're also good at sales. You understand the persuasiveness of how to, sell over the phone, right? So then when you create these content and scripts, you can say, and let's say you're pitching somebody, you're going to say like, hey, I'm going to help you write a script specifically to get people to click the link in your description, which will get that sales call that you're looking for in order to close a deal. So now you're becoming even more valuable, right? And then let's say you are also good at creative direction. So not only do you understand this whole persuasive way to get people to click and, write good scripts, but you understand aesthetically how to make a shot look really cool, what backgrounds to put, what animations to put. So then you can add even more value when you're selling your services. So if I were to put that all together and go out to all these different creators and I said, hey, I'm going to help you write your script. It's going to be extremely engaging. It's going to be written in a way that drives sales to your business so you can close them on the phone. And I can give you tips on how to aesthetically make your shots better and everything so that, more people want to buy and your brand reputation goes up. If you were to take that person who has this stack of skills and put them into the market, there's very few people that actually understand how to do this, right? All the copywriters that just took one course, they're not going to be as good as you because you have all that experience, right? And so that is essentially how you're going to become a niche of one, right? So the whole point of being a niche of one is like this. Whatever skill you decide to learn or become better at, or you already have, other people can do the same thing, right? If you're a video editor, other people can edit videos. If you're a script writer, other people can do that. But what is it that's going to make you different? How do you specialize in such a way where when somebody thinks about, should I work with this person or not, they can't even find another example of someone who does the same thing. So for me personally, I've done a lot of consulting, especially in the crypto space. And what I did to differentiate myself and to become a niche of one is essentially I combined my sales and marketing skills. Then I combined it with content marketing because I've done YouTube for so long, right? So there's not many people who specialize in that. And then I even understood anime and gaming specifically. And then I was really good with NFTs. So you put all those skill sets together, what are the chances you're going to find a content creator who understands sales and marketing, who understands anime and gaming and NFTs all put together? It's just it was so rare that when I sold my services, it would just be they would have no reference to understand what was a high and low price because you won't find anyone doing the same thing as what I was doing, right? That's how you essentially take one skill set, stack a bunch of skills on top of it to provide something unique, right? Something different. And there's always ways to innovate. And if you're stuck and you're not sure, you just haven't found it yet. Even the most boring subjects, there's ways to provide innovation in there. So one of my clients, actually through the Founder X program, if you haven't already joined our free community, make sure to check that out in the link in the description. But anyways, one of my clients, basically he started an AI automation agency from scratch, right? Literally started from zero. Then he cold called the person, and then it was a big real estate company in his country. And then he was able to close a deal with them with no website, just Calendly link, and that's it, right? And so for him, what I would recommend is if he wants to specialize even further when it comes to AI automations, I would do this, AI automation combined with understanding the real estate industry, which is, the first client he got. And then if he took it a step further, specializing in lead generation using AI, right? And then he could take a step even further and say, okay, I'm going to specifically do, AI voice and AI chatbots, right? Potential lead comes in, then basically an AI talks to them, and then that AI converts that person into a qualified lead, which passes to the real estate agents, right? So that's a very specialized thing that right now, because AI is so new, he's basically looking like a genius to every company he goes to because that's oh my God, that's magic, right? But maybe a year or two from now, that will be the norm. But for now, that is essentially being a niche of one, especially if he does it in his specific country, in his specific language, which is not English. I'm not going to reveal which one it is. He's basically looking like a whiz kid going to all these real estate companies, right? So he can go and break into the door because AI is so new. It's even though he doesn't have a website, people are still buying it. There's so many creative ways to innovate in your niche, right? Sometimes it's just based on your background, the language you speak, the country you live in. find ways to be creative and become a niche of one. If you're selling something everybody else is selling, then you're not doing a good job in this, And if you're not, definitely check out my free group to figure out how to, innovate on yourself, right? Even if you are a niche of one, and people do take meetings with you, the next challenge a lot of people have when it comes to selling the skill is that they're selling nice to haves, right? So if you're selling something that ends with a ER, better or more, it's not going to be good enough. For example, I'm going to help you get leads faster, right? I'm going to help you get more leads, more revenue. It's like everyone's promising that, it's just like it's an incremental gain. But what people will actually pay big money for is when you sell them a complete transformation. If you go to somebody and say like, hey, I'll help you sell more, it's kind of like not that appealing, because they're going to be like, oh, I'm already doing good. Like, why would I spend time working with you? It's not that big of a deal. Can you really increase my revenue by 10%, right? But when you sell a complete transformation and you're completely changing somebody's life, like you can put a big dollar amount to that. So I actually was on a call the other day and the person was selling a service, helping other people get project management jobs, right? And then I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. And he was selling a low ticket item, just a couple $100s. And I was like, that seems too low for like this kind of transformation. He's like, what do you mean? I'm like, okay, well, if you help this person get a project management job, right? Like how much money are they going to make? He's like, oh, well, roughly around 100K, like 100K US dollars. Like, yeah, that's like pretty life-changing, right? So if you got somebody, you train them and then you place them into a job where they're making 6 figures, that's a big transformation, especially if they're going from, let's say they're working at a factory or something, or they're a teacher and they want to like break into tech, for example, right? Then I'm like, okay, that's a pretty big transformation. That's really life-changing. I think you can charge like 3 to 5K, right? Because when you think about it, if that person's making 100K from their job, what is 3 to 5K? It's like just a fraction of what they're going to be able to make, right? And so that is like a true transformation where you're changing somebody's life. It's not like, oh, you're a teacher and I'm going to help you make a little bit more money. No one's going to pay for that. But if you're like, hey, like you're a teacher and you hate your job and you don't see it going anywhere, there's no advancement from being a teacher, why not go into a more lucrative career like project management, right? And so when you're selling that transformation, you could charge a lot higher. So I think a lot of people make the mistake of like, they just want to incrementally help businesses, but businesses don't really care. You have to like transform their business. So it's like, let's say a coach was really good on YouTube, but they weren't good on LinkedIn. You could say, hey, I will run your entire LinkedIn lead generation process. That's going to blow up your business. That's a transformation I would pay for, right? Or let's say I'm doing YouTube organic, just organic content, but I'm not running ads. Somebody could say, hey man, like you're missing out on a big opportunity by not retargeting the people that watch your videos. You can be making like, significantly more money. That is also a big transformation, right? So you want to find people in your niche where you can transform their life, right? It's kind of like the before and after, right? Like if you ever seen like those like fitness before and after, you see like this, overweight kind of person. And then like 6 weeks later, they got 6-pack abs, right? That is a transformation. So even in the business world and whatever skill set you're selling, what is your before and what is your after? And the more dramatic you can make the change, the more money you're going to be able to charge, right? Because they're going to be like, oh my God, that transformation is unbelievable. So I'm going to use one of my clients from Founder X as an example of like how to think about selling a transformation, right? Because we actually just had a weekly call yesterday, right? And he asked the question like, okay, like for their offer, what they do is they help people save money and invest that money into safe investments where if that compounds over 5, 10, 20 years, then they're going to be able to retire by the age of 50, right? So they were like, oh, how do we sell this transformation if it takes so long to, realize the result? Because it's not like getting, 6-pack abs in 6 weeks, right? It's like a 10, 20 year process. Then I was like, okay, here's what you do to sell transformation. Where are they at and where's the goal, right? What's point A, point B? Point A is they're living check to check. They don't know when they're going to be able to retire. And the worst fear is like they're going to be 60 years old and they have nothing saved up. And then their kids have to take care of them. And it's just going to be a financial mess, right? So that's the painful point A. Point B is they're retired by 50 and they're just enjoying their life. Amazing dream, right? Now I said, okay, if you think about it, right, their target audience is like in the ages like 25 and 30, stuff like that. So essentially if they save, let's say like 10K, right? Let's say 10K per year. What I recommend them do is think about, okay, that 10K, if it compounds, let's say 8% a year for the next 20 years, what is that 10K going to be worth? So that $10,000 is going to be worth about $46,000 in 20 years, right? But if they keep stacking up the money and save it over time, eventually we'll save $1 million, So instead of having the person wait until the very end to realize the result mentally. If they understood that if they just stay on track, they stick with the plan, and it compounds 8% every year, and they're investing this amount, by the end, when they're 50 years old or 60 years old, they're going to have this amount. So they can mentally picture that in their head already, because once you already invest the money, and assuming the market doesn't like totally blow up, you're kind of already there. You know what I mean? You're kind of already a millionaire if you just do nothing for the next like 30 years and just keep it in there. And so that's how you essentially, I was recommending at least, sell a transformation that takes a long duration of time. It's like a perception, right? Like in their heads, it's perceived that they already got the result as long as they stick with the plan. And that's how you sell a transformation. So it's more like, I've saved this amount of money and it's going to be worth X amount of money in 20 years and I achieved the goal, right? So you can actually sell a plan, sell a financial plan, make them stick with it, and then have that transformation. It just needs to play out over time, you know? So the next point I have for you when it comes to selling a skill is that you need to sell something the market actually wants, right? Most beginners, when they're starting out, when it comes to selling their skill, they kind of assume what people want, and then they spend all this work like building a website and all this kind of stuff, right? And it doesn't work, and then they give up. The problem is like, instead of guessing what people want, you should just ask them. The best way to ask them is get them on the phone or meet them in person, ask your personal network just to test out ideas to see if it's something they would pay money for, right? Don't ask them if it's a good idea. They'll always tell you it's a good idea, right? But ask them, it's going to cost $2,000. Like, do you want to try it? And then they will tell you the truth. So when you ask for money, it's like the best indicator to know if you're actually providing value. When you sell what the market wants, it's kind of like this. Let's say everybody knew that there was like a bunch of gold in this like little cave or inside the mountain, right? In this example, you can be the person that sells the picks and shovels, right? So there's going to be a line waiting for, through the door to buy these picks and shovels in order to mine the gold. So it's kind of like if I knew, for example, that everybody wants to build a personal brand and monetize their following, which I've done over the past 5 years, right? Now what I do is I coach people on these things because there's going to be like basically a digital gold rush where everybody has a personal brand. So I positioned myself to help and serve these type of people, which, are people I like helping, like entrepreneurs and founders, first-time founders, or even people just starting with their personal brand, right? Even if they have a successful business. And that brings joy to me. And I know this, so I'm kind of selling the picks and shovels for this gold rush. And the reality is there are many people who are going to find the gold. Now, there are also many people who are not going to find the gold, but, at the end of the day, I'm selling something that people actually want. So when bringing it back to you guys, and you guys are thinking about, okay, like what kind of service should you be selling? What kind of skill you should be selling? Figure out what people want. Talk to them, see what they're looking for, and package something for them and do the work. It's as simple as that, but it's hard to execute, right? Because many people, they don't get the meetings. They don't send the DMs. They don't go into the groups and like start a conversation. They don't ask their friends because they're too afraid of rejection. And that is actually what holds most people back. It's not necessarily that they don't have a valuable skill. It's that they don't do what's necessary when it comes to sales to show people they have the skill to even have an opportunity to start earning, right? When it comes to selling the skills, okay, whatever your skill is, right? Whether it's like landing pages, editing, whatever. It's all about perceived value, okay? So I'm gonna give you an example. So here on my screen, what do we have? We have a banana and some duct tape. So how much do you think this banana is worth? Probably less than $1. I haven't checked the prices for a while, but maybe with inflation, it'll be more. The duct tape, it might be $1 or $2, right? So nothing crazy. Now, if I were to give you this banana taped to the wall, how much do you think it's worth? Well, to somebody, it's worth $120K because, they actually bought this art piece. So what's going on here? It's just a banana taped to a wall, right? And it's all about perceived value. Obviously, art is its own thing. Like art is really all perceived value actually, right? But whatever service you're selling, yes, you're providing value by providing a service, but it's also perceived value. It's always, always, always perceived value. And every decision someone makes when it comes to buying starts emotional, and then they'll justify it logically. So how do you sell your services with high perceived value? Otherwise, everyone's just going to look for the cheapest price and go for the cheapest person. And you don't want to be in that situation. How you do that? It's one, like I was just saying, become a niche of one, stack your skills in a specific way where you're the only person that can do that specific thing. And number two, it's all about how you package your offer. The mistake most people have when it comes to packaging an offer is this. They don't believe that they can sell something high ticket. So when I say high ticket for our video today, we're going to be talking $2,000 US dollars to $5,000. Let's say you're selling coaching services. Would somebody actually pay $3,000 for coaching, right? That sounds crazy to most people. But the reality is there are plenty of people that do that successfully. And there are plenty of people that will pay for that. So the limiting belief that you have to break is that most people don't think they're worthy enough to charge $3,000, $4,000 for anything. They're like, I'm only making like $5,000 a month at my day-to-day job. Like, why would somebody pay me, $3,000 for a couple hours of training? To see, the thing is, because of that limiting belief, they're never even going to try. And I know from my experience of doing it myself and also helping other people, most people actually can. They just don't know it. I'll show you how you can charge extremely high prices by reverse engineering this, right? So let's say you want to sell high ticket and you want to sell something for $3,000. If you went to your friend who just so happened to be your ideal customer and you want to charge him $3,000, think about this. What can you do for this person where they would actually pay you $3,000? Instead of trying to push your skill onto them, ask yourself, what would they pay for? And then I had this joke with a client where the way you should think about it like this. So let's say you're helping them edit a video. Okay. Are they going to pay $3,000? Probably not. So what if you said, okay, not only am I going to edit, I'm going to write your scripts. Okay. Now your value is going up. Not only will I edit and write your scripts, but I'm going to fly to your house wherever you are in the United States. I'm going to set up the whole filming thing, the lights, the camera, and I'm going to show you exactly how you should be saying the words on the camera so that it comes out really good on the video. Now, if you put that offer together, is it worth $3,000? No, because it's worth even more than that if you're assuming you actually do a good job, right? So you basically have to just keep providing so much value where you're like, of course it's worth it. Like, you fly to someone's house, you pay for all your expenses, you write their script, you set up the filming equipment, you set up the lights and everything, and then you direct them on how to be enthusiastic on camera, right? That is a high value offer. I'll give you another example, right? So let's say I'm helping somebody get a high paying tech sales job. Okay, how are we going to do that? Coaching sessions. I will do 6 coaching sessions with you. Okay. And then what? I'm going to write your resume for you. You just tell me all the information. I'll write the whole thing. Okay. What can I do to add more value? I'll write all your cover letters. Okay. What's next? I'll apply for the jobs for you and get you the interviews. All you have to do is show up. Okay. What even more value I can provide? I will, let's say when you're doing an interview and let's say it's going to be online on a Zoom call, you're going to share your screen and I'm going to be there with you and you're going to have a chat open. As you are interviewing with the interviewer, I'm going to feed you lines to make sure that you know exactly what to say to the interviewer to get the job. So now that small offer from I'm going to coach you to I'm going to write your resume, your cover letter, I will get the interviews for you and apply on your behalf and pretend to be you, and I will actually basically feed you lines during your interview until you get the offer. And then best of all, you don't pay me until you get the job. So how much do you think I can charge for that? Probably $5,000, right? Assuming if this job is going to pay you $75K per year. Yeah, absolutely. That service is worth $5,000 because the amount of effort you put into that and the result and transformation that you're selling is crazy. It's off the charts, right? So that is how you create a truly irresistible offer, by just providing so much value. They're going to be dumb for saying no, That is how you sell your skills. That's how you package it. But let's talk about getting clients. Because even if you do all this, it doesn't mean anything unless you actually have a client, right? Now, personally, right, if you're starting out, here's my recommendation. You want to get leads, right? Leads are people who are potentially interested in your product and service. There's 2 ways to do it. Number 1 is content. So content that you're seeing like on this video, right? I'm creating content and a percentage of you guys are going to join my free Founder X community where I'm going to give you free resources and a free course. And then I'm going to DM you and have a conversation with you to see if it's a good fit to work together. And then if it is, then you become a client. If it's not a good fit, it's cool. Then just enjoy the free resources, right? So content is very powerful because you attract people who have a specific problem and they come to you. And it's a lot easier to sell them because, probably if you're watching my video, maybe you've watched a number of my videos and then you trust me because you're like, yeah, this guy has some pretty good stuff. And so if I ever put out an offer into the world and say, hey, I'm going to help you guys do this, there's a chance, right? Not everyone's going to do it, but there's a chance someone will book a call with me and then we'll see if it makes sense. I love content, right? I've been doing it for 5 years. It absolutely is one of the best ways to, sell services because it's like just the new meta. This is how business is done, right? Now, the other way to do it is outbound. So that is you're reaching out to another person, right? So if you see my videos on cold emailing, LinkedIn messages, those kind of things, when you reach out to somebody, you can get a meeting with them and then you can convince them to work with you, right? They might not know who you are, but it doesn't mean it doesn't work. Right? So I like to do a combination of the both, right? If you have content, people come to you, you get leads. If you go outbound, people will open your emails and then they're going to check you out and Google you, search you on YouTube. If they see something they like, there's a higher chance they're going to respond. And so the whole point of this whole process, whether it's content or outbound, right? You can pick one or both. It's to get a meeting. It's how many meetings can you get per week? Because the more meetings you get, the more chances you have to sell, and then the more you will sell. So most people actually have a problem with generating leads. From me coaching a lot of people, in my career, usually they'll get the offer down pretty quick. They'll know kind of how to sell it, but they just don't know how to get enough leads because they're not sending enough emails. They're not creating enough content. They're not attracting enough people. And so if I were you and I was selling a skill, majority of it, especially in the beginning, is like 80% lead generation. If you can just keep getting meetings to figure out what's going to work, then you will be able to make 6 figures. That's just how it works, right? So either content or outbound, pick one, but just generate as many leads as possible so you have more practice in sales. Here's the advanced tip for you guys, and that is do the unscalable. So if you watch YouTube and you watch other people, they're going to say like, oh, you need like all these systems. You got to automate. You got to grow. But the reality is when you're going from 0 to 10K per month, you actually don't need any automations. You actually don't need to do anything scalable. You need to do the unscalable, because the problem is not you can't scale. The problem is that you need to make money, right? The problem is you need to get clients. So if you do the math, let's say you're selling something for 3K per client, right? If you get 3 people per month, that's $9,000. $9,000 times 12 is more than 100K. So that's already a 6-figure business right there, right? So do you really need to have all these crazy automations to get 3 clients per month? No. You can literally run your business on an Excel sheet and have a 6-figure business. I think most people get drowned in the weeds and they're not focusing on the right thing. The only thing you should focus on is getting clients, closing them, and delivering the service, right? And to do those kind of things, you just have to do the unscalable things. So if it's manually writing LinkedIn messages to people that are all personal and you're doing 40 of them a day, and that increases your response rate, great. Out of those 40, maybe like 5 people take a meeting with you. Out of those 5, maybe 1 person closes, right? So you just do it every single day, and eventually you'll get 3 sales a month. Or if it's creating content, it's unscalable in terms, creating content itself is scalable, but the work required to do it, you just have to do. And then you're going to take the calls, which is not scalable because it's just you on the calls. So don't even think about hiring a sales rep if you cannot sell your own services yourself, because they're not going to be able to do it if you can't even sell one, right? And so in the beginning, I promise you, skip the automations. Don't think you need to send 10,000 emails and all these follow-ups and these advanced sequences. Probably you don't even have the skill to get people to open your emails and even respond to begin with. So why are you sending thousands, right? Literally start with dozens per day. And that will get you far because you need the skill and the touch to like understand what people actually want. When you're able to do that and you start getting more clients, and then you start scaling. But until then, you don't need to scale. So just ignore all these systems and automations and stuff like that. Get a client, right? Just focus on getting a client, generating leads, and that is it. I promise you that will make you much more successful than any of these like using high level Zapier and all, you don't need all that kind of stuff.